We'd like to begin this podcast by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
This episode of Talking Couch Potatoes is brought to you by Henry Houndwear, the brand that all the best dressed hounds are wearing. To find yours, go to henryhoundwear.com.au.
Mel, welcome to episode 53 of Talking Couch Potatoes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Not only
is that because the sun is shining?
The sun is shining, Mel. The sun is shining, and you know I love the sun.
You do.
We've spoken about this. When the sun's not shining, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I leave the country to where the sun is shining. But there is a light shining somewhere else, Mel. There's a light about to be shone upon this dog racing business that we've been doing, and they're going to have a good look at it and see if it's up to scratch.
That's right. The inquiry into greyhound racing. And
that's awesome. And if it's not up to scratch, I think we should scratch it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can't wait, and I'm going to do a submission myself personally. You told me I can't do the one I want to do, so I'm going to come up with something else.
running with your dog in the rain.
In the storm, yeah.
Yeah, in your birthday suits.
Yeah, both of us, yeah.
No.
All right. Well, I'm going to write a submission then, and I really encourage our listeners everywhere. You don't have to be from WA, you can be from anywhere.
That's correct. And particularly if you're listening to us from outside of Australia, give your perspective of what your country might have tried to do to make things better that didn't work.
Yeah.
Because case studies are very valuable too to this committee to be able to understand what's happened in different jurisdictions and what may or may not have worked there.
Yeah. And the other thing that's valuable, Mel, the reason this inquiry came about, and it was mentioned specifically, was the number of signatories to the petition, the chorus of voices. And this will apply as well to the submissions. If they get a truckload of submissions coming in, that sends a signal to our government that people care about this issue.
That's right.
So, again, don't be swayed, don't be put off by the idea that it's a government submission and you have to speak like a government bloody consultant or something. You could write a poem if you like. You could send a heartfelt story about your personal experience. You could talk about your experience in your country. You could talk at whatever level you like. The point is that the government hears a chorus of voices. So, join the chorus.
That's right. And if you look at the terms of reference, you don't have to answer all of them. You don't need to. You can just choose one that you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah.
If you do have an idea on all of them, absolutely speak about all of them. But if you don't, just choose one and make your submission heartfelt and personal. That is the most important thing.
So just chuck something in.
Yep, absolutely.
But today, Mel, it's a really interesting interview today. For the first time ever, we're going to talk to an artist.
I know. It's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, someone from the artistic community. Not just someone, but quite a force in the artistic community. We've got Elliott Fox, who is currently bringing forth the Saint Grey exhibition, and that is also coming to Perth as well. It's going all around Australia. The other thing I wanted to mention, Mel, is the RSPCA Awards. We've got some very close friends of Free the Hounds that are being honoured.
That were honoured.
It's already happened, hasn't it?
Yes,
yeah, it happened
yes.
on last week.
Yep, so we had, which was great, our Vice President, Alan Dolphin, received an award. We have another committee member, Jess Albro, that also won an award, and her houndie, Georgia the Grey, who's been in her very own storybook now.
Yeah.
And there was also Jackie Kemp from Bustleton Greyhound Awareness. She does tireless work down there, her and her husband Brian, and as many of our listeners would have known, they were involved in that terrible accident last year, and yet they still continued fighting for the greys and continue to do it today.
Yeah, nothing stops them sometimes. No. Fran was saying, I really like the term Fran. If you haven't heard it, frankly, I'm disappointed. You should have listened to our last episode with Fran from Let Greyhounds Run Free. She had a really nice term, a determined plodder. She called herself a determined plodder. I like that. Just hang in there and hang in there and hang in there and don't let go. Mel?
Yes.
I just know that you have a very busy time coming up. Free the Hounds, the Volleys, everyone between now and November 17th.
Midnight.
That's the last chance to get submissions in. You're going to be working your ass off, aren't you, Mel?
Yes, until I've said to my kids, Mum's not available until after the 17th of November.
Really? My mum, she used to say I've changed my name. If you'd call it, hey Mum, so I've changed my name.
Yeah.
Unless you guess it, you
can't get any attention.
Yeah.
Great. idea.
Hey, kids, try Maleficent. She might answer to that.
We will all be very busy. We'll check out the website.
Yeah.
Follow us on social media. You'll see upcoming details and what's going on. And we will have
submission packs.
We'll have submission packs, but also we will have a submission writing workshop happening.
Awesome. Wow. So there's no excuse. Like, there's so much support Free the Hounds are willing to scaffold people with. Don't have to do it on your own. No. All you got to do is put your hand up and say, yeah, I want to help. And
we will help you.
You'll be supported. All right, time to say good day to Elliott. See you soon. All right, Mel, it's time to have a chat to Elliott. Elliott has had most of this year off work on unpaid leave because he wants to focus on his art exhibition at the St. Grey exhibition. He also completed a Diploma of Visual Arts. Normally, in his normal life, if you can call it that, he's a senior program officer who manages Indigenous visual arts funding. He's done degrees in psychology, science, international relations, law. He had a 15-year corporate career, mostly in human resources and employment law. He's got a rescue greyhound, and he calls it his artistic muse. And you know what I love about this, Mel?
What's that?
He's got a human name. I love animals with human names. His greyhound's name is Adam Barker.
I know. He's beautiful too.
Yeah. And there's also the sweet Queen Labrador Vera.
Love that name too.
Vera, yeah. So Elliott's kind of well-versed in caring for animals, but it also expresses his care through art, and I can't wait to say g'day. How are you, Elliott?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Elliott.
Yeah, I'm well.
Awesome. It's really nice to have you. As I mentioned earlier in our little intro, I love the people we get to talk to. We talk to people across the spectrum on this podcast. Never, ever once have we had an artist on the show, so that's going to be exciting for us.
Well, look, I love any opportunity to discuss the art, and particularly the real potential of art in society, which I think a lot of people don't really consider or take art for granted. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to not just pursue my passions at this stage in my life, but also do it for a cause that's really dear to my heart and really meaningful.
Yeah, I love that, Elliott. I've had a look at your website as well, elliottfox.art. Go check it out, peeps. And the ethos or the sort of perspective you bring, I can kind of resonate with this idea that you express that contemporary art often appears to rely on exclusion and elitism to assert its sort of relevance, whereas what you're talking about is that we need art that's meaningful and connects on an emotional and an intellectual level.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting when you often have those conversations with artists, people in general, about visual arts and what art is, particularly contemporary art. People often say, I don't get it, or, is that really art? I could do that, or my 2-year-old could do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not too far from the truth. And I think the problem with art is it often struggles to get noticed as a real profession or as a real career. And that's a real missed opportunity, because art is something that has been around for millennia. And when you think about art, it's one of those means of communication that's really inherent. It goes across cultures, across countries, and particularly across time. And there was a quote I'd read that when society ends, it's the art that remains. And that is just such a powerful way of thinking about art, that art is a way of reflecting and sharing who we are and who we aspire to be to people around us, but also to future generations or future civilizations even.
Right, yeah, I love that idea. I think I agree 100% that the artistic life or the function of the artist in society has been forgotten a little bit because we've moved in a way to such a functional society. The role of the artist in a meaningful society or culture maybe has been sidelined.
Yeah, I believe so to a pretty large extent, to be honest. And it's partly, I suppose, our own doing as artists. Yeah, there is this real excitement towards experimental art or doing art that pushes boundaries or relies more on the shock value or the emotional component. But in that whole process, we kind of miss that whole opportunity for art to actually communicate to people. And that's something that I've really held quite dear and something I strive to do in my art, and that is to create art that engages people, not just on the emotional level, but importantly on the intellectual level, that engages people to reflect on how they might be feeling, but also how it changes their way of thinking or their understanding or perspective on different situations.
Right, yeah, I guess you're talking about art of and for the people rather than the established structures or whatever that, or for the commercial system.
Absolutely. And there are some artists, there are a lot of artists that do that. So if you think about Banksy, for example, he's a fairly well-known graffiti artist who pops up around the world. No one really knows who Banksy actually is. But when you look at some of Banksy's works, they're very simple and elegant in their design, but they really cut through and really get to the core of what some of those issues are that we have in society. And Banksy's been very outspoken through their art. And there's one, for example, where there's a stencil of a truck, and it's called Meat Truck. And the heads of the animals that are poking out through the truck are actually plush animals. They're toy animals. And it kind of, asks people to reflect on what is the difference between an animal that's loved and dear to someone versus the commoditization of animals for the purpose of food. And that's just a really interesting way of reframing how people see that particular situation.
Yeah, wonderful. Particular animals, as you know, Elliott, that we're interested in and very passionate about and are a voice and an advocate for are the greatest breed ever made, the Greyhound.
And certainly the oldest breed as well. Greyhounds are over 8,000 years old as the oldest breed of domestic dog.
Definitely, and really the purest of pure breeds. But what brought you into this sort of sphere? How did you first become aware of greyhounds, and also how did you become involved in advocating and representing them in your art?
Yeah, and look, it all started for me when we adopted Adam Barker. And so we adopted Adam about 5 years ago now, where at the time we wanted to adopt a dog, and we didn't really know what type of dog we wanted to adopt, but we were mindful that we were living in a townhouse and needed to adopt a dog that would be comfortable with that environment. And so we were going through a couple of ideas, but we heard that, there are actually greyhounds that are in need of homes, and supposedly they're great in apartments. And so we looked into that a little bit, and there was a YouTube video that we found that was called Greyhounds 101, and it reaffirmed that point, some of those common traits of greyhounds being these very gentle, sweet, affectionate, often goofy individuals. And we thought, let's look into that a bit more. And we discovered that there are a lot of rehoming programs in Australia that have that fostering arrangement where you can foster a greyhound, see how it goes, and if it's not a good fit for you or if it's not a good fit for them, that's okay, and you can see if there's a better fit. And so we decided to give that a go, and the first greyhound we actually met was Adam. He came with the name Adam, but at the time we thought we need to give him a bit more of a dog name, so we just decided to give him the surname Barker. So that's where Adam Barker came from, and over time he settled in really well with us. It took him a little bit of time. It took us a bit of time to get to know each other. There were no major issues. We quickly learned that Adam is very intelligent. He has learned over 20 commands in the time he's been with our family.
Wow.
He hasn't really had any major adjustment issues, but he learns very quickly. So he learned how to use stairs very quickly. He was obviously startled when he first saw his reflection in the mirror, but realized, that's not actually another dog, that's me. And he also learned that if no one's at home, the rules don't apply. So we have to be very careful not to leave food out on the bench, because otherwise he's fine, but no, not if there's something tasty on the bench. That's gotten him into trouble a few times. But no, I think the important thing to remember with greyhounds, or any other dog, or any person for that matter, is that no one's perfect. And everyone's got their own quirks and qualms and little traits that do require a bit of compassion, but also a little bit of adjustment. And for Adam, he is a greyhound that does have sleep startle. So that was something that took us a little bit of time to understand and modify our approach to him. But otherwise, he's completely calm and very gentle. And the other interesting thing about Adam that we didn't realize at first, and this is on us, that after he has a meal, he really needs to go pee. And so the two accidents that he had inside were us not realizing that early on. And so after he had his meal, he went to the door and just peed at the door. And then we realized, actually, maybe that's what it is. Maybe he just really needs to pee after dinner. And sure enough, we got a dog door for him to let him himself out into the courtyard. And he makes it a routine. When he's having dinner, he sometimes stops halfway, goes outside to pee, and then comes back and finishes his dinner.
Oh, what a cutie.
Yeah.
But no, he's a very clever boy. And I think it was an opportunity for us to really reflect on Adam as an individual. He has his own character, has his own personality, his own likes and dislikes. But most importantly, he loves us and we love him. He's someone that shows so much joy and excitement just to be around you when you come home. And I know a lot of people say that about any dog or any pet. But I suppose for us with Adam, it's been a little bit different, knowing where he's come from as well, knowing that like the vast majority of greyhounds in Australia, we became more and more aware of how they're bred, how they're raised, and more likely confined and raced to the point where they're not pets and they don't get that same affection or care that they and we crave.
Yeah, you've taken that a step further. You've taken your awareness of the situation, your empathy for it, and you've transformed it into your art. What led you to using your art as an expression of their circumstances?
Yeah, and it was all a bit coincidental. So when we adopted Adam, that was when I had a bit of a change in my life career path and decided that I needed to go back to some of my earlier passions, and that was the visual arts. And that really gave me an opportunity to express myself in a way that I hadn't really been able to find a way of doing otherwise. And being a non-English speaking migrant to Australia, there was always this kind of duality in my upbringing between two different cultures and two different languages. And art just gave me a way of really, how can I put it? It gave me an opportunity to immerse myself. You know, when you see those internet memes of people going through the galaxy and you see these stars going past them, that was kind of the feeling I get when I really immerse myself in art. It's almost like a glimpse into someone else's life experiences and their soul almost.
Right.
And so I've always been drawn to really meaningful art, and that meaning comes from not just people's what they're trying to say, but also their life experiences and their ability to communicate that and share that in a way that people can connect with that. And I suppose I was also getting to know more about Adam and also getting to know more about the racing industry. And I suppose what really struck me was how much misunderstanding there is, but more so just how much ignorance, complicity and apathy there is towards the plight of greyhounds.
Right.
And some of that is to do with people not wanting to know, but also people being willfully ignorant or just not really wanting to engage with that issue. So there was a Facebook group which had quite a lot of followers that was about people who loved greyhounds, but I had a strict rule that no one could talk about anything that was going to be controversial. They couldn't talk about greyhound racing. And for me, it seemed a bit contradictory in that if you love greyhounds, then you're going to discuss and acknowledge any issues that they're facing or their plight. And there was one point where someone did bring up a death of a greyhound and how sorry they felt about the greyhound dying. And they got chastised by other people in that forum saying, oh, no, you shouldn't be talking about that. And I said, well, that's a bit sad and really quite tragic. There was those experiences that kind of made me realize that, well, greyhounds are to a large extent voiceless and they are struggling to be seen. And knowing personally how beautiful greyhounds are from getting to know Adam, it just seemed really fitting that my debut solo exhibition that I started planning, the theme was going to be greyhounds.
Yeah, right. And so this is the exhibition Saint Grey. Can you tell us a little bit more about what message is there behind the name and the sculpture that you've chosen to use?
Absolutely. So when I decided to do this exhibition, just generally with the theme of greyhounds, I wanted to give people an opportunity to do what a lot of those other Facebook groups or forums try and shy away from doing, and that is look at greyhounds and give greyhounds an opportunity to be seen as family members and as individuals. So I've done that through a series of portraits of Instagram famous greyhounds. And for your listeners in Perth, there is a portrait of the lovely Georgia the Grey. And they're portraits that I really try and capture the essence of greyhounds and really ensure that those artworks are soulful. That when people look at them, they don't just see a dog, they actually see an individual. And so the other side of the exhibition is contrasted with dog racing. And I wanted to give an opportunity to look at dog racing in a number of different ways. That's through a few different mediums. That's through screen printing and sculpture and mixed media. And what I'm looking at on that side of the exhibition is using quite a lot of symbolism and subtle messaging that tries to engage the people to really evoke their empathy towards greyhounds and their plight, but do it in a way that they really relate to it themselves. And yeah, that was actually challenging because I wanted to create art that does get through to people. And I didn't want to create art that causes people to shut off. And that's what happens with a lot of really confronting shock factor art that relies on gore, really horrific images. And it would have been pretty easy to do that if I had simply compiled some really horrific footage that comes from the racing industry and is readily censored by the industry. But I wanted to do that in a way that people can look at it and reflect on it. So 2 of my artworks there are mixed media artworks, and there's no explicit image of a greyhound on those. But when people look at it, they realize, oh, this is actually about greyhounds, and they start to put themselves more into that position. And the feedback on those has really been quite powerful as well. But importantly, those 2 sides of the exhibition, even though they seem conflicting, there's a centerpiece artwork, which is Saint Grey. And Saint Grey is a life-size sculpture of a greyhound with these magnificent angelic wings of 1.5 meters in length. And Saint Grey brings those 2 halves of the exhibition together as a symbol of reverence and hope. So Saint Grey provides greyhounds and all dogs with a saint of their own that will guide and protect them through life and through death.
Wow, that's lovely.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess what I really wanted to do is to acknowledge and also find hope for greyhounds, knowing that so many of them do suffer and so many of them die absolutely horrifically, but more so many of them just want a family and they just want a couch or a cuddle or a pat or, just to be loved. And I think for a lot of them, they don't know what they don't know because they've never had the opportunity to experience that. I know of a lot of rescue greyhounds here in Canberra that when they've come to their forever families, the stories from their forever families are really quite sad. One of them said, oh, look, our greyhound, she's never felt grass beneath her feet because she was just terrified of grass and things like that. And it's just really sad that they are somehow seen as this different type of dog, or rather not seen as a dog at all, let alone a family member. But at the same time, they're probably the most human.
Exactly.
Of any other breed.
I think that's the experience I've had. Is it's quite ironic that one of the most gentle, placid dogs that you can connect with most deeply is actually viewed as a bit of a second-class dog and not quite held in the reverence that other breeds are. I find that really a tragic irony.
And I think that irony partly stems from the fact that greyhounds are one of the oldest breeds of domestic dogs, that because they have lived alongside humans for at least 8,000 years, perhaps longer, it has made them very attuned to people. So it makes them very receptive to people, which has also made them susceptible to being exploited.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes them an easy dog to exploit.
Absolutely. And there's a book that was written by the founders of the Great UK USA Worldwide, Christine Georchek, about the rise and fall of greyhound racing in America. And the book's called Brooklyn Goes Home. And it really puts into perspective that dog racing is an industry that hasn't actually been around for that long. It's only really been around for approximately 100 years, where that pales compared to how long the greyhounds have been around for. But it also really highlights the roots of that industry coming from the period of the Great Depression and an opportunity for particularly criminal organizations to make money through gambling. So it's really quite a tragic story for greyhounds. And really, I'm hoping that this exhibition is an opportunity to change that and shift that attention away from them being seen as a commodity and being seen as individuals.
Yeah, as beautiful, heartfelt companions. My sense, Elliott, is that what you're aiming for here with this exhibition comes from a place of wanting to engage, connect, educate, draw people in, not from a place of wanting to denigrate or demonise or otherize What's your sense of how the exhibition's been received so far? You've had a couple of shows now. What's the feedback that you're getting?
Look, it's been going really well. It's been a very interesting journey. I've been planning this exhibition for 2 years. I really wanted to do this right, both as my debut solo exhibition, but most importantly, to do it well by Greyhounds. And now that I've gotten to this point where the exhibition has launched and obviously had the first few exhibitions now and continuing on to Tasmania and Perth, it's been a very interesting journey, but the way it's been received reaffirmed for me the power of art, how art can engage people in ways that they haven't anticipated or considered. And they do say that art is worth 1,000 words, and I do believe that, but it also is a way of engaging people to reflect on who they are and who they want to be. What is their legacy? And that is one of the artworks that I have in the exhibition. So look, I've been very fortunate that I have quite a few sponsors behind me as well. The funding's been a big issue for the exhibition. It's not cheap being an artist, you would have thought. Yeah, but the art grants I applied for weren't successful. One of the grants I applied for was a government grant that was only a few $1,000s, and that got knocked back. And so I had to jump through so many hoops to even put in an application, let alone end up having it rejected twice. But then on the flip side, in 23-24, the Australian state and territory governments gave $150 million of subsidies to the racing industry to kill dogs. So it's just such a really tragic, irony and hypocrisy, really. But look, I've been really fortunate that there have been a lot of other groups and organisations that have been incredibly supportive. So the principal sponsor for the exhibition is Grade UK USA, and they came through to offer support when I was really struggling financially. So I'm really grateful to them for helping the exhibition come through. I've been really grateful that there's other major sponsors as well, including Free the Hounds, Animal Liberation New South Wales, Women's Helping Hounds, Animal Justice Party New South Wales, and a few others. And I've been really keen to ensure that the organisations that are directly involved in supporting and advocating for greyhounds, so the charity organisations, they're the ones that I've been working closely with to make sure that I can get the right message out, but also promote the exhibition and then support them financially by donating the proceeds from the auction of the artworks back to them as well. And so about half the people that have come into to see the exhibition knew very little or anything at all about greyhounds or dog racing. And that's been a really interesting opportunity to converse with them. And a lot of them have come in with assumptions such as, if we ban greyhound racing, the dog breed will die out.
It's that old chestnut.
Yeah. It's like, well, for a breed that's been around for 8,000 years, it's unlikely. And
the one that they say, but when they come out of the industry, they're already sterilised, so they'll become extinct. Do they not think that we can get a few that aren't sterilised so we can be certain that the breed? These arguments are just...
sterilisation is an artefact of the industry,
exactly.
of the racing dogs.
Yeah. And look, I don't doubt that there are people who genuinely think they love their dogs, trainers that, breed greyhounds and race them, and perhaps some treat them better than others. But for me, the real core of it is if you love someone, you don't put them on a racetrack with a risk of really horrific death and injury for your own selfish gambling gain.
I mentioned a couple of times, Elliott, that it's an odd definition of love because my definition of love, it's all about the other. It's not about what you get from the other. So, the racing industry tends to be, I love them for what they can do for me and give to me.
Yeah, that does remind me that one of the sculptures that I have in the exhibition on the Greyhound portrait side is actually a sculpture that's an interactive glass sculpture. And the idea with this sculpture is people can put their hands in the sculpture and another person can put their hands in from the other side and you can hold hands. Right. And as you look down from the top, there's a image of a person holding the hands of a greyhound. And beneath that, there's a promise of, I will always care for you, I will always protect you, I will always love you. And what I'm asking people to reflect on is what is the difference between you and the other person whose hands you're holding and those of a greyhound or anyone else, and whether they're not deserving of the same promise as you're making to another person.
That's wonderful.
Oh, that's just made me very sad.
And very hopeful.
Well, not sad. Like it's, wow, I can't wait to go and see this.
I just want to thank you, Elliott, before I announce when you're in Perth for everyone to go to, and it's mandatory if you're a listener of this podcast. I expect you to see you there. I just want to thank you. Again, we at Free the Hounds, we try and attack this from every angle, the economic angle, the welfare angle, the rehoming angle. But this is the first opportunity I've had to be a part of talking to someone who is approaching it from within the artistic community. And like you said earlier, it's often gets sidelined, the importance of expressing our humanity and our needs and how we want society represented through art. So I just want to thank you for speaking up for the Hounds, giving them a voice through your art.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think you do make a really important point there, that in order to make a real change for greyhounds and hopefully achieve a kinder world for them, there are many pieces to the puzzle. And in order to change hearts and minds and ensure that people can find or reflect on their own humanity towards how they treat greyhounds, and whether that's even just talking about their plight or sharing information about it, or even better, adopting a greyhound.
Yep.
It is one of those things that we do need to talk about and approach from different angles and in different ways. For me, it has been through art, and I really hope that this is an important piece of that puzzle. One of my artworks was even mentioned in New South Wales Parliament recently.
Nice.
So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah. Nice that you're in Hansard now.
I am.
Yeah.
So I really hope that people do come along to this exhibition, and whether they are dog lovers or not, or art lovers or not, it's an opportunity to really hopefully see my art, but also really get to know greyhounds in a different way and reflect on the racing industry. So I do hope people can come along. The feedback I've been getting from the people has been fantastic. Everyone's really appreciated not just the message, but how it's been developed. And so the exhibition will be in Perth in January, and that's also when the exhibition comes to a close. And at the close, the 18 artworks that are currently available to bid on through auction on GalaBid, so galabid.com/St. Grey. That also comes to a close, and the proceeds of that auction are going back to the Greyhound charities and advocacy groups that are supporting the exhibition.
Of course they are. That's just wonderful. That just tops things off for me. Yeah, not only are you representing and being a voice for the Hounds, whatever comes of that, you're sending back to the Hounds. That's just beautiful. You'll be in Perth, 13th to the 21st of January in Mosman Park. I'll be there. And if I don't see, the people I expect to be there, I'm going to be frankly, Mel, very disappointed.
Very disappointed.
I've given you the dates, so be there.
I will just say there will be more information coming out about the exhibition as well. So I would ask people just keep in touch with my website, so elliottfox.art, or social media, or even Free the Hounds. There will be more information coming out on those details, as well as a group exhibition that we're planning. So when I had the exhibition in Sydney, it was a great opportunity to support other artists to the theme of rescue greyhounds. And so they exhibited alongside my exhibition, and we're planning to do the same in Perth as well. So if there are any artists out there, whether in Perth or beyond, we really encourage them to include their artwork in this group exhibition as well, and have an opportunity to be seen on the walls or on the plinths and really give their voice to greyhounds as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Elliott. Thank you so much for giving your time to us today. And I hope to see you in Perth soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elliott.
Mel, that was a unique and exciting and informative experience for me talking to Elliott. I really like the idea that our first podcast where we've had an artist on board. I know I keep hammering this point a little bit, but I think we have to attack this from every possible angle. And as Elliott said, art can connect with people in a way that politics maybe doesn't connect. So he's coming at this from an angle that I think is super important. So I want to really thank Elliott for the work he's doing, expressing through his art the needs of the Hounds, giving them a voice. It's awesome, wasn't it?
And he's he's another lovely human being.
So go check out his exhibition. It's St. Grey. It's in Perth in January. Check out his website. That's elliottfox.art and get involved. Yeah, what do you reckon?
Absolutely. And if you're in Tasmania, it's coming to you too.
Yeah, go check it out. That's the end of episode 53. That's 53 episodes, Mel.
53.
53 countries.
Yeah, still no Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, get on board. If you know anyone in Ethiopia, actually, Mel, we're going to go get some Ethiopian for lunch today, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe that will inspire the gods.
It'll send a message to the greyhound gods.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Keep listening, keep talking, keep spreading the news, keep educating yourself and others, and one day we shall release the hounds.